It's taken its time to go on. I'm going to record. Oh, it's on. Hello, hello, Gutsy Women Collective. How are you today on this beautiful Thursday afternoon in the UK, Thursday morning for Denise Day in the, is that you're in the US?
I am in the US.
I get the accent mixed up between Canada and the United States. So I always have to double check with people.
That's okay. It's Ohio. I live in Ohio in the US.
Fantastic. Denise, it's lovely to have you here and lovely to have you as a member of the group. And you are a coach and you do so many other things. But first of all, I'd love people to know a little bit more about you as the woman. I know you have grandchildren, you have children, you do lots of things, and you have a story behind why you're doing what you're doing now. So I'd love you to tell the other members of the group a little bit more about you and why you got to do what you're doing now.
Okay.
What matters to you, really?
Yeah. Okay. Well, thanks for having me on, Dee, and being part of this amazing group of gutsy women. I love it. So again, my name's Denise. I live in Ohio in the US, and it's kind of fun. Every time I say that to somebody, you see me glance out my window because I actually live in about the fourth largest Amish community in the country. So when I glance outside, it's because when I think about it, I have two Amish farms, beautiful farms I get to see right across from me. So with that said, I am a country girl. I love the country. I love being outside and just breathing in the beauty that is out there. Yes, I do have a daughter, and I have an amazing 11-year-old granddaughter who is the light of my life. I've actually helped raise her. She's 11 years old. She turned 11 in February. And I've helped raise her because my daughter became a teen parent. And, you know, for lack of a better way of saying it, crazy teenage parents, right, doing their teen stuff. So I stepped in and helped raise my granddaughter. My daughter is doing a wonderful job now as a wonderful mom and everything like that. But I tell people God knew who to send into our life when she sent this kiddo to me, because it's actually part of my story. And part of that, and I'll kind of segue into that part of it, because that's how I got to where I am now. When I say that God knew who to send to us with this beautiful granddaughter of mine, is because my daughter is actually a surviving twin. So I had twins and I lost her twin sister. Her name was Brenna Marie, and she was stillborn. So my daughter, Katie, has been honestly traumatized by that birth and by that immediate loss. And she's still, to this day, she'll be 28 in May. She has separation anxiety from me at times, which leads into boundaries I've had to set up. I mean, this whole thing, again, leads into where I am right now. So that's a little bit of my story as far as myself having some trauma in my life by the loss of that beautiful baby of mine. It'll be 28 years on May 27th that I lost her, and dealing with my daughter's loss. And like I said, separation anxiety. She's also, we just realized within about the past year, maybe year and a half, that my daughter is also a late diagnosed autistic lady, neurodivergent. I tell people if you were to meet her, you would never know it, and things like that. So, and with that, she has a lot of physical issues that come into play. I don't mean like physical disabilities, just she has gut issues, a lot of stuff women have, right, in life, unfortunately anyway. And she also, going along with that, has been suicidal in the past and has had a lot of mental health challenges in her life. So again, that's a little bit of my journey. I grew up in an abusive alcoholic home. So that created the giant people pleaser that Denise came to be, because, you know, when you grow up in that environment and that walking on eggshells, because you don't know, again, happy dad coming home, angry dad coming home, happy dad could turn into angry dad any moment, you know, and things like that. So when you have trauma like that, we learn how to walk on eggshells. And I really dislike that feeling. I always have. However, it became a coping mechanism, my survival mechanism, because I didn't know anything different. And I don't like confrontation or chaos or overwhelm because I like everything here because of that trauma. So one of my poor coping mechanisms became a very good people pleaser. And where that led me was, I'm just realizing some of this now, Dee. It's very fascinating for me, actually, that I really never learned how to have a good, more so romantic relationships, like healthy, like especially communication, right? Because I don't want confrontation. So I was always going, oh, that is my fault. Oh, what can I do better? What do I need to fix in me to make this relationship better? And those were the stories that I believed, that my survival mind, had me believe in things like that. So
Mm.
it was very hard for me to be authentically me, to be Denise Day in relationships. My marriage, I'm no longer married to, my husband. And I felt like I became like I'm capable. I'm a type of person who says I have to prove this to everybody. This is a big realization for me, Dee, just this past week. I need to prove this. I need to prove this. And I'm like, boy, Denise, why do you always, I wasn't aware that that's what I was thinking until about a week ago. And I was like, something else interesting, and things like that, which was one of the problems, I think, in that marriage. And I honestly left that marriage the day before my 29th wedding anniversary. I won't lie, I never looked back. I knew it wasn't aligned in my heart. And I had to finally go with my heart and the things in my life that I really, really wanted. And I really started to understand that I deserved them. I wasn't taking care of myself, and I put out a good show, Dee. I was that person. How are you, Denise? I am awesome. And inside, my gut's going, no, you're not. My spirit's going, no, you're not. You're not awesome. But my physical being and my survival mode was going, I am awesome. And one day, all of those poor coping mechanisms stopped working for me. And it was like the whole world crashed down at one time on me, and I didn't understand what was going on. So it was very scary. It was frustrating because I didn't understand. When we don't understand something, we don't have that clarity and we're not aware, it gets frustrating, right? And those were the things, those were the things that kept me where I was. So I am the type of person, when I get pushed far enough, whether it's by somebody else or myself, or just life circumstances, I just leap with both feet. That's how I am. I'm a very physical person. I love being outside, like I said, and doing, I'm athletic. I do obstacle races. I do mud races, fun stuff like that. So I just jumped in and I did a 180 in my entire life about 2 years ago. Basically, it started on my 58th birthday, where I'll share this quick story because, again, this is kind of how how I did the 180. So on my 58th birthday, 2 years ago, Matthew McConaughey was having like a webinar or something like this. And it was on a book he had written that I had never read, never heard about, but I really like Matthew McConaughey. And I thought I'd like to listen to him for my birthday. At the time, I was working for another company. I loved it. And I was a manager. I had I had awesome people underneath me. And I said, hey, for my birthday, I'm going to take half a day off. And that was it. They're like, have fun, Denise. I said, thank you. About 30 or 40 minutes before that workshop, I started to feel guilty that I was actually going to spend 4 hours of my birthday doing something for me. And thank goodness I didn't listen to that part of me. And something inside of me, my spirit, that soul, God, whatever you want to say, said, no, you're going to this workshop. And that changed my life, because one of the first things he said on that workshop is prioritizing you is not selfish. And that's exactly what I needed to hear. And from then on, I was like, okay. And I started, and like 2 or 3 months later, I hopped on another workshop. They're talking about, online businesses and a lot of coaching and things like this, and sharing our stories,
Mm.
because that's how we share from our hearts, right?
Definitely.
Yeah, how many, indigenous tribes in that's what they did, and that's what they continue to do. They share their stories, their families, their ancestry,
Yes.
to carry all those down for a really good purpose.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I just started sharing my story, to be honest. I jumped into this coaching business. I had no idea what I wanted to do with it, who I wanted to. I knew it would be women. I didn't know how to do it. But like I said, if I am pushed enough and moved from a point of really pain, and that's where I was, very much pain inside, I jump in with both feet without even knowing what I'm doing. And it just kind of took off from there. And
Wow.
it's been
Wow.
amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is my mission, Dee, and it is
Mhm.
my passion to work with women.
Wonderful. Denise, that what a story that is. And I'm thinking, like, the pains and the traumas that we go through. And I'm imagining when you said everything crashed, that was your mind-body connection at work. That was your body going, I've had enough of this. She's not listening to me. I've
Yeah.
been giving her signals. It's funny. I've just put a post up today on how to listen to the signals of your body. So yeah, pop it, pop in. This is just like we're synchronizing today.
Yeah.
But that's a perfect example of us ignoring those signals, pushing it down, not listening, not even realizing their signals to listen to them in the first place, and then getting emotionally, psychologically, and physically unwell. And I'm sure that
Yeah.
a lot of what you've said, there will be women listening to this who will go, that's me, that's me, that's me, that's me, that's me. Because
Absolutely.
because as you say, women go through an awful lot, and we do have more gut issues and more health issues than
Mm.
than men in a lot of ways, because
Yeah.
of that level of the nurturing, the self-control we have to feel that we have to balance
Mm.
all of the relationships that we're balancing. And we tend to get buried beneath all of those things. So you've just really hit on those things. Where were you at that point when you were realizing, because you've even just said there as well, even just this week, I'm still a work in progress. There's something new come up. And at 60, it's not too late, is the message I heard from you.
Absolutely. I'll be 60 in 2 weeks. On the 24th of this month, I will be 60. And so, I didn't like the person I was. And when you mentioned the physical part, again, I'm a very physical person. Like I said, I always have been. When my physical being was taking the brunt of things, and now I can't go to my happy place where I calm myself, which would be working out, whether it's lifting weights, being on the trail, kayaking, whatever it is, when all of a sudden I was like, I don't even want to do that right now because I'm too tired. Now, guess what? I'm not eating well, because I'm a foodie, and I love eating healthy food. I just adore it. Okay. I don't like junk food. That for me was the big one, because I couldn't do the things that were bringing me, keeping my joy and my peace here. And so that's when I had to really look inside and go, okay, what's going on now, Denise? And yeah, it's a continuous journey. And I think that's the great part of life, right? There's always going to be something that pops up in front of us and we're triggered by it. And then we either get stuck, we get overwhelmed, we start beating ourselves up, all the stuff that women do, hiding in that bathroom crying, because we're not going to let anybody see us cry, right? And things like that, because then we're going to come out of that bathroom, that smile on her face, going, here I am again, perfect, doing what society has taught me to do, and all that other fun stuff. So I am coming to realizations now, because it's never too late. I like to tell people last summer, not long after my 59th birthday, I call it a meltdown. I don't have a better word for it. I woke up every single morning, and as soon as I opened up my eyes, I was crying and my heart was racing. And it occurred to me, I'm like, I'm having anxiety. I don't have we all have some type of anxiety, but I know this from my daughter. And I was like, what is going on, Denise? This is not me, because it was almost every day, Dee, every single day. And I was coming into 2024 on this high. My coaching business is going well. I thought my personal life was going pretty well. And last summer was very difficult. Last summer brought me down to my knees. And so I'm like, what is going on? I couldn't figure out. I'm praying, I'm doing my meditation, I'm doing all the stuff that I help other women do. And then I was like, you need to reach out to some of your girlfriends, Denise, who are also in the coaching business and healing business and all this other stuff, because that's why it's important to have communities like this, right? The Gutsy Women Collective, and to be with like-minded women to encourage us, to support us, to tell us we're not crazy, and to not tell us what we want to hear, right? To be honest with us. That's what besties are for. Don't tell me what I want to hear. Tell me what I need to hear, right? So I reached out to some people that I know, and then I became to understand every trauma that I went through. I was sexually assaulted at the age of 11. My daughter had been raped. Again, just those traumas that I went through, I didn't consider them trauma, is what it was, Dee, because strong Denise, who's never going to show weakness, would never admit I had trauma in my life. Even with losing a child, I refused to admit it was trauma. And how sad is that? But now I realize, so it's okay. But last year it was like every traumatic experience that happened to me hit me all at the same time, because I think it was God's way of saying, listen, you're not hearing me, kind of like you said, are you listening? Because if you're not, we're going to have to do this a different way. And you may not like how I'm going to do it, to make you aware and to make you vulnerable. Yeah. Because I never like to be vulnerable, because again, in my eyes, that showed weakness. And that was just a story that I told myself. Nobody told me that. I don't remember anybody ever telling me that. But because of my trauma, I saw a mom who worked 2 jobs to put food on the table for us. Back in the day where, alimony wasn't required, child support wasn't required. My mom didn't have anything. So I think because I saw this very strong woman, and she is, before her time, my mom turned 88 in January, I felt like that's who I had to be automatically. Does that make sense?
It makes perfect sense, because of this societal pressures a lot of the time on women to be a certain way. There's an expectation from society that, we're of the same age, and it's about building that the mindset that actually what we've been told is actually not serving us. It serves others, not us. And it's not about being selfish. It's about, I'm not a religious person. I'm not a churchgoer of any kind, but I do remember it's treat others as you would want to be treated. And we forget the bit that actually you're one of the others. you are treat one of the other. You are part of the
Yep.
other. And we forget
Yeah.
that bit. We leave that bit. We seem to forget that bit that's actually,
Yeah.
we're actually included in the other, you know?
And
So
we should be the first one included in that.
exactly. Yes, it's true, because we cannot pour from an empty cup. If we're an empty vessel, we ain't got anything to give to others anyway. So it's the old adage is put your mask on first on the aircraft and all of that kind
Oh,
of thing.
absolutely.
And so really what you're expressing is what a lot of things that feed in to women's health issues is the traumas that we don't even see as traumas until we actually start thinking about it, and we haven't thought about it because it might be too painful, it might be too difficult, it might be too like hurtful, or we don't want to address it because the people that hurt us are still alive and we don't want to rock the boat and that kind of thing, especially with things like sexual abuse, with rape and all of that, you know, and those things can happen within the family. So nobody wants to rock the boat in that situation, you know.
Absolutely.
So much going on.
Oh, it is. I shared, because I did just share, my daughter had been raped by a boyfriend more than once that she was with about 7 years ago. And I remember, and she still has nightmares almost every night from that. And and I've talked to her about, and she has seen people who have helped her and things like that. But I'm trying to gently nudge her back a little bit in that direction, still planting that seed. And not just her, women I work with have been traumatized by, toxic relationships, sometimes in their marriage, sometimes with their family members, a parent or something like that. And they're like, I don't want to go there because it's going to hurt. And I'm like, but we're already hurting. It's like I told my daughter, she goes, I don't want to go back and live that. I said, you're having nightmares every single time. Almost every night you're having nightmares. You're still living it. So you know what I mean? You're still hurting. So you need to find somebody to help you with this trauma, because it's not going away. It's not going away. And like, you said, and now it's going to affect you physically. You're going to go to these medical doctors, and here in sorry, Western medical, we're not real great with that type of healthcare, right? We're really great with trauma, physical trauma and emergencies. We lack in other areas. So now we're going to doctors and they don't know what's wrong with us. And they're telling us there's nothing wrong. Well, yes, there is, but it's like you said, Dee, it's manifesting physically in us. That's why the doctors can't find anything wrong with us. What's happened? What's the trauma? What are you holding inside you that you need help with, right?
That's it. Definitely. The body holds the score, the cells hold on to it, and that trauma can affect so much else that's going on in our lives, and we wonder why we're sick. And this is all about helping us to actually look at, what am I holding on to that is no longer mine? Where can I get the support to actually let certain things go? And that could be our own frustrations, our own angers, our own, level of self-control, our own self-responsibility even. All of those things can all feed into this, and it's really important. But you're not going to get that from a medical doctor. You're going to get that from support from people who've been through it themselves, people who can help. So your story is really powerful in that direction, because you've overcome it in so many ways. And like I say, we're all a work in progress. We've all got stuff to still work through. But to the extent that you can now pass on the wisdoms and the learnings to help others to actually start to look and explore around how they can start to take some control again of their life.
Because we can take control of our lives. I hope we all know this. We can't control a darn thing that happens outside here, but we sure as heck can control what happens in here. And, you mentioned self-responsibility. One thing, and I love that. And I talk about that with some of my ladies, and I also remind them, you're not responsible for anybody else's reaction toward you. Now we're responsible when we're raising children, obviously, and things, but beyond that, I keep reiterating to some of my ladies, that's not your responsibility. Why do we like to look out here? Because we don't want to deal with what's in here. We don't want to deal with our self-responsibility. It's easier to try to control others and deal with their, I'm like, that's not your responsibility. You need to come within. And, hopefully once we come within, we start modeling that for others. And that's when people will decide to either stay with us and support us or move on. And I want people who I'm aligned with to be in my close-knit circle. I want like-minded people in my close-knit circle. And I want people who align with me in here, with my heart, and those are the people we're going to attract to once we start to exude that. I truly believe whatever we exude out there, that's what we attract back. And I know that for a fact because I'm living proof. I see it every day of my life. So those are the communities and those are the women that we need to make sure we're surrounding ourselves with and who are vulnerable. It's very important, like you said, we're sharing our stories, and for me to even come out, you know what, when I said I was sexually assaulted at 11, and it was a family member, the first time I admitted that to anybody was 2 years ago. And I'm very vulnerable. I'm very vulnerable. I'm very transparent. No one in my family knows that happened to me. I still have never told anybody in my family. And I know it would rip my mom's heart out. And that's one of the reasons. And that's okay. And you know what I mean? But again, just things like that we hold within us because of the shame. And we blame ourselves and all this other stuff. And sometimes society tells us it's our fault, women. Even when somebody else is hurting us, they blame us. And then what does that do to us physically? Right?
Yeah, it goes in here again, and it just perpetuates the cycle as well. And it's just I think it's something that we as women are actually beginning to express more, that things need to change. And here we are in 2025 saying it still needs to change.
Absolutely. And just one other thing that really hits me, and especially I had to do this for myself, and I have to work on this daily for myself, but it's something that I love to remind my ladies about. We don't have a problem giving other people grace. Why don't we do it for ourselves? First and foremost, give ourselves grace. That means give yourself permission to feel those feelings. Give yourself permission to say, you know what? I didn't like that person I was, or I feel guilty about this, or why didn't I do this, or why did I do this? Doesn't matter right now. Give yourself permission. What would you say to somebody else if they came to you? How are you talking to somebody else is how you should be, hopefully, it's how you should be talking to yourself.
Yeah.
Right? I would hope you wouldn't go up to somebody and go, what are you, an idiot? You're not capable of anything. Because these are thoughts that go through my head. I'm not capable. This week, my big one, D, was I realized that I really have, in certain areas of my life, I say certain because it's not in all areas of my life, I have a big trigger that I am not enough. And that was a huge realization for me this week. I didn't want to admit that one either. I was like, oh no, I don't think that about myself. But anytime I stand up, I say power themes every morning, and I actually stand up and say them. And one of them is I am enough. And I've been saying this for 2 years now. And I had wondered why every time I said it, I would get choked up and almost start crying. And I thought it was because, yes, Denise, you're saying I'm enough. But now I realize, because if I would have been honest with myself, it was because I didn't feel I was enough. That's why I was getting choked up every time I said it.
Yeah.
And I still do sometimes. This just came to me this week. So again, like you had mentioned earlier, it's always going to be like this. We're always on a learning journey. If we're not, what's the point?
Mm.
What's the point of being here?
That's the I'm not good enough or I'm not enough is one of the most common limiting beliefs that hold illness in the body. It, believe it or not,
Oh, I believe it.
it's the most common one out of all of them. That, you know, I talk about the 12 limiting beliefs that we all have, and it isn't about actually necessarily feeling that we've got to get rid of them completely. All we've got to do is turn the volume down so they don't interfere with our life. And
Amen. Yes.
yeah, that's it. Do you know, Denise, I could talk to you all day. This is just so fascinating, and just resonates so much with the work you're doing and the work that I'm doing and the work that so many of the other wonderful women who are coming in here are helping women with chronic pain and all of this kind of thing to come together as a supportive collective where we all can say, that happened to me. This is what I'm working on. This is where I'm at. And to be heard, to be supported, to be helped, to be given the strength within ourselves to look at what is happening within ourselves. So thank you so much for sharing your story. And I know you've got your coaching business, so if you want to put that into the comments below this video once we've finished. Liddy, I just want to say, if you've not seen this live, please come in and have a look at the replay of this. This is powerful stuff. I'm sure there's lots of things will resonate with you, and you'll be able to identify so much with Denise's story. So please do that. Please comment. Please engage with Denise. She's in the group. You can contact her. She's going to comment. She's going to engage with you as well. So thank you, everybody, for watching. And thank you for Denise again for being here.
Oh, my pleasure. Thanks for having me. It was an honor, Dee. It really was. I love being part of the collective.
Oh, thank you so much. We love having you as well.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll end this live stream and then we'll have a chat.
Okay.